My life savings were stolen by my parents and wife. How do I get them back? My name is Cassius Redwood. I've always been a simple guy, worked my ass off to save money, and trusted the people close to me. My parents, Diana and Marvin, always seemed supportive, and my wife Yvonne was the love of my life. Or so I thought. I had been saving up for years, doing everything from construction work to odd jobs, dreaming of starting my own business. Little did I know, the people I trusted the most were plotting behind my back. It all started on a regular Friday evening. I came home, exhausted from work, expecting to have a quiet dinner. Yvonne had been acting strange lately, but I chalked it up to stress. We had been talking about moving into a bigger house and starting a family. I was beyond excited, thinking all my hard work was finally paying off. As I walked into the house, I noticed my parents were there, which was unusual. They rarely visited without notice. Yvonne looked pale, and my parents had this weird, guilty look on their faces. I knew something was up, but I couldn't have predicted what was about to happen. "Cassius, we need to talk," Yvonne said, barely meeting my eyes. My stomach dropped. This wasn't going to be good. "What's going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Diana, my mom, spoke up. "We know you've been saving money for a while now, and, well, we used it." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. "Used it? For what?" I demanded, my voice rising. Marvin, my dad, looked away, avoiding my gaze. "We had some financial problems, Cassius. Your mom and I needed the money to cover some debts." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "All of it? My life savings? What about you, Yvonne? Did you know about this?" Yvonne finally looked at me, tears in her eyes. I needed some too. My sister was in trouble and I had to help her." I was stunned. Years of saving, all gone. "How much did you take?" I asked, my voice shaking with anger. "Everything," Yvonne whispered. I felt like the ground had been ripped from under me. Everything I had worked for, stolen by the people I loved and trusted the most. I stormed out of the house, needing air, space, anything to escape the betrayal. The next few days were a blur. I couldn't believe my parents and wife had betrayed me. I felt like an idiot for trusting them. I tried talking to Yvonne, asking her to explain why she didn't come to me first. Her excuses were weak, blaming stress and panic. My parents were just as pathetic, claiming they were desperate and had no other options. I decided to confront them all at once. I needed answers and, more importantly, my money back. We met at my parents' house, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. I wasted no time. "How could you do this to me?" I shouted, unable to contain my anger. "You stole my money, my future!" My mom started crying, but I was too furious to care. "We didn't mean to hurt you, Cassius," she sobbed. We thought we'd pay you back." "Pay me back?" I laughed bitterly. "With what money? You're broke, and you, Yvonne, how could you go behind my back like that?" Yvonne looked miserable, but I couldn't find any sympathy for her. "I'm sorry, Cassius," she whispered. "I was scared. I didn't know what else to do." "You didn't know what to do? How about talking to me? We're supposed to be partners." I was shaking with rage. "I want my money back, all of it." My dad finally spoke up, his voice weak. "We'll pay you back, Cassius. It'll take time, but we'll make it right." I didn't believe a word of it. "You've already ruined everything," I said, my voice cold. "I can't trust any of you. Get me my money or I swear I'll do something we'll all regret." I stormed out, feeling betrayed and lost. My own family and wife had stolen from me, and I had no idea how to get my life back on track. The days that followed were some of the darkest of my life. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and couldn't focus on anything. My trust was shattered, and I felt utterly alone. I stayed at a friend's place for a while, avoiding my family and Yvonne. I needed time to think, to figure out my next move. Yvonne kept calling, leaving messages apologizing and begging me to come home. My parents tried reaching out too, but I wasn't ready to forgive them. I had to see a lawyer, but the news wasn't good. There wasn't much I could do legally, especially since Yvonne and I were married. It felt like I was trapped. I finally agreed to meet Yvonne, just to talk. We met at a park, neutral ground. She looked awful, like she hadn't slept in days. Part of me felt bad for her, but the anger was still too raw. "Cassius, I'm so sorry," she started, tears in her eyes. "I was stupid and selfish. I should have talked to you." "Yeah, you should have," I snapped. "But you didn't. You just took everything." "I'll pay you back, I swear," she pleaded. "We can work through this." I shook my head. "How? We're broke. Everything's gone. Do you have any idea what you've done?" She cried harder, but I couldn't bring myself to comfort her. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again, Yvonne," I said, my voice breaking. "This isn't just about the money. It's about trust, about respect. You went behind my back." "I know," she sobbed. "But please, let's try to fix this. I'll do whatever it takes." I sighed, feeling exhausted. "I don't know, Yvonne. I need time to think. This isn't something I can just forgive and forget." We sat in silence for a while, the weight of everything hanging between us. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew things would never be the same. After weeks of silence, I finally decided to meet with my parents. I needed closure, some kind of resolution. They invited me over for dinner, trying to act like everything was normal. But nothing was normal anymore. We sat at the dinner table, the air thick with tension. My mom kept glancing at me, her eyes red and puffy. My dad looked defeated. I could barely eat, my appetite gone. "Cassius, we're so sorry," my mom started, her voice trembling. "We never meant to hurt you." "I know," I said quietly. "But you did. You took everything I had worked for. We'll pay you back, every cent," my dad insisted. "It might take time, but we'll do it." I shook my head. "It's not just about the money. It's about trust. You're my parents. You should have come to me, talked to me." "We were scared," my mom whispered. "We didn't want to burden you." I sighed, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. "You should have trusted me. Instead, you betrayed me." "We're family, Cassius," my dad said, his voice thick with emotion. "We'll get through this together." I wasn't so sure. The damage was done, and I didn't know if I could ever fully trust them again. But they were my parents, and despite everything, I still loved them. I knew I needed time to heal, but I wasn't ready to cut them out of my life completely. As for Yvonne, things were still uncertain. We were trying to work things out, but the trust was gone. I couldn't shake the feeling that she had betrayed me, and I didn't know if I could ever forgive her. We were going to counseling, but I wasn't sure if it would be enough. After months of soul-searching and therapy, I made a decision. I couldn't stay in this toxic situation any longer. I filed for divorce from Yvonne. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but I knew it was the right choice. She was devastated, begging me to reconsider, but I couldn't. The trust was gone, and without trust, there was no foundation for a relationship. As for my parents, I decided to keep my distance. I wasn't ready to cut them out completely, but I needed time to heal. They promised to pay me back, and they were slowly making payments, but the relationship would never be the same. I moved into a small apartment, starting fresh. It wasn't easy, but it felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I was finally taking control of my life again. Looking back, I realized that the people closest to us can sometimes hurt us the most. It was a painful lesson, but I learned a lot about myself and what I value. I still had a long way to go, but I was determined to rebuild my life, one step at a time. Update. It's been 6 months since everything went down. Yvonne and I are officially divorced. It was a messy process, but it's over now. She's been struggling, and part of me feels bad for her, but I know I made the right choice. I've been focusing on myself, working hard and saving money again. It's slow progress, but I'm getting there. My parents are still paying me back. It's not a lot, but it's something. I've been keeping my distance, trying to rebuild the trust, but it's tough. We talk occasionally, but things are still strained. I've also started dating again. It's weird, but I'm trying to take things slow. I'm not ready for anything serious, but it feels good to put myself out there again.